You know, coming up in November, there is a film that's going to premiere in Mariposa. And this is a fascinating story. So, joining us with more details on this is my friend Bill Lowe. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
You were on with us a few months ago
Yes.
talking about the Mariposa Butterfly Festival, which was a success.
It was a huge success, and I owe it partly to you.
Thank you.
We had, locally, we had 4,000, because the county of Mariposa is between 16 and 18,000. Depends on what week you're there. And, so 4,000, then 6,000, over 6,000 came from the valley.
It's amazing.
So it had to be advertising, and obviously we were on this show, and I saw that it got a lot of hits.
Well, that's what we love to hear.
Yeah.
It was fun, wasn't it?
It was great, and even though it was hot, people had a great time. We had a great car show. People just had a great time, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud that it worked out. We even sold out the parking lot. There was no parking left.
Wow.
So that's pretty much for that fairgrounds. That's a lot of cars.
That's huge. Okay, so this film that you are putting together, it's called Veterans Unforgotten Memories.
That's a little tough. It is about their memories of being in the service, sometimes in war, and their memories of when they got out of the service and adjusting to real life. Some of the stories are happy, some of them are a little tough, and these veterans wanted people to know what their lives were like.
How did this all come about?
Someone had suggested it to me, and I really didn't know where I was going to go until one of the interviews, one of the wives spoke up. Cindy Stowell, she all of a sudden just started talking about her husband didn't want to talk about this before, and he used to drink quite a bit after the war, Vietnam War, and then when he would drink the hard liquor, he would disappear. And so one day she finally was able to get a hold of him and stop him, and he finally told what happened, that he lost some very important people with him on his gunship, helicopter gunship, and he felt it was his fault. And so that conversation gets me a little emotional. That conversation moved him into another area where he could discuss it, because Vietnam veterans had a hard time discussing what happened to them in the war, because one, it was an unpopular war, and so they didn't want to be called a baby killer. They didn't want to be abused by the public, and so they kept it to themselves, and that built up a lot of angst in their lives.
Makes total sense. We're looking at video next to you right now. Can you kind of walk us through this if you can see it?
Yeah, some of these scenes. Oh, that's Bob, I believe. He was World War II, and he got in toward the end of the war. They were still bombing Germany. And then this is another Bob Cooper, who was infantryman, and he fought their hand-to-hand combat there with the North Vietnamese, and he lost a lot of friends. One of his friends lost his arms and legs, and his fiance, dumped him, and so when he needed her most, she felt that she couldn't deal with that at all. So that was very devastating to the man. And then let's see, that's one of the wives who she didn't understand why her husband was having the nightmares. And so through the vet center in Fresno, she was able to get more understanding of what is going on in his life.
Who did the production?
I do all the work. I
You
do
do
all the
it
shooting.
all?
Yes, and I shoot in 4K so that I can blow up. I can make up for my bad camera work. But I'm an editor. I used to edit Seinfeld. If you see some of the early episodes, I used to do a lot of
What?
editing. Yes.
You gotta be kidding me.
The Chinese restaurant. That's one of my episodes.
That's one of my favorite episodes. You gotta be what? I didn't
It was
know
funny.
this.
Well, and I remember Jerry talking about that we don't want any intermissions. We were going to just keep it going all the way through. Of course, NBC's no. This show is to make money for the
Right,
network,
yeah.
not to make the show.
Yeah.
And so there's a thing where he's talking about, well, Aunt Maya's going to talk to Uncle Joe, and Uncle Joe's going to talk, and then they dissolve out and they come back in. And he's finished, and so that we had to make up an exit to go to commercials for that.
I love it.
It was great. It was a great show.
So that's why you were down in the Long Beach area.
Yes, Long Beach, Los Angeles. I grew up in
In
Long
LA.
Beach, and then I lived in Burbank 40 years of my life working in the studios, yes. And it was great. It was good. I wouldn't call myself a A-list editor, but I always worked. So I was a working editor.
I want to do another interview with you just focused on Seinfeld and
Oh,
some
great.
more memories. That would be awesome. That
Great.
just blows my mind. That is my favorite sitcom
Oh, that's wonderful.
ever. I like that more than The Office. Seinfeld I can watch literally over and over and
Yes.
over and over. I know all the episodes. It doesn't matter. So.
And of course, the last episode, they all end up in prison.
Yep, I know. So sad, so sad. Well, that's so cool. So you have such a broad experience, and you're able to talk to people, and you're able to kind of break through the storytelling with these veterans.
You
in
have to
this
build.
particular film.
You have to build trust, and it's very difficult. Some people. I did a film called Me Walk, which I'm hoping the tribe will let me put that online. It did very well, and then COVID hit, and so I'm hoping that they'll because it features tribal members, so the tribe needs to approve putting it onto the internet. The trailer for Me Walk has gotten over 4,000 views, so I think it's time now after a year to put this for them. And it took a while for them to trust me because obviously I'm white and they have been taken by other people. So in this case, to get veterans to speak with you, they have to really want to, and it worked out very well. I got stories. Well, it worked out so well. I showed this to Major Patterson there at the Marine Corps base there at Camp Pendleton, and I'm working on a project for veterans there in San Diego now. So it worked out that well that they liked that film, and I'm hoping I'll replicate that for them. So I love it. I think veterans need to people need to understand what veterans are going through.
Yeah.
If you think about your life and who you met and all, and then and at that one moment you met this person who helped you on your career or whatever. Well, if you got drafted, you would never have met that person. You will maybe not meet the spouse that you married. You never know how timelines change when it's interrupted. And these guys sacrificed a lot. But also on top of it, they saw a lot of things. And most veterans come out fine, but there's that 40% who that sticks with them. It's really hard to turn that off on their minds, and those are the ones that we need to help. And I think out of the unemployment, the majority of the unemployed are veterans. And these guys were productive veterans. So it's not like they were losers. Something happened when they got back in society that they did not fit in, and what can we do to help them out?
Right, exactly. Okay, so this is playing at
The high school, Mariposa County High School Auditorium in Mariposa on November 13th. Tickets are available on Eventbrite.com. And we're starting off with a 2 o'clock screening. If that fills up, we'll have a 4:30. And then if that fills up, we'll have a 7 o'clock screening. And I'm really hoping people will come out to support the veterans. This is what it's all about, it's supporting our veterans.
Thank you for doing this. Gosh, I want to try to come to this. Seriously,
Thank you.
This just sounds freaking awesome. So we'll
Yeah.
keep talking about that. And then you're going to come back on a couple weeks before.
Yes, just to
the
remind
16th.
people, and I'm really, I wanted to say, I screened this to the Lions Club last night, and it's a tough group. Lions Club are a tough group because they have a bar over there, and so trying to get them, and there was not a word spoken during that film. So,
That says it all right there. More details, go to mariposarotary.org.
MariposaRotary.org, and you can actually, they'll send you a link to, you can see the trailer, and then also send you to Eventbrite.com.
Yeah, perfect. Bill, good to see you again. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All
Have a good
right,
day.
in about a month.
About a month.
Right? A month and a half.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll figure it out. All right, I'm Austin Reed. You're watching Central Valley Talk. Thank you for joining us. We've got another guest lined up, so stay with us for that. It's coming up next.
D-Day was what, June 6th of 45?
Sounds right to me.
So all of that was going on, and that was, of course, one of the reasons they were sending us over there. They've been losing so doggone many pilots and airplanes. Well, I flew as co-pilot. The first mission I went on, we had a terrific number of anti-aircraft fire, and it's scary as all dick out because these things are going off all around you. I had one mission where a enemy shell went through the wing of my airplane about 10 feet from me and exploded up above the airplane.
It's a good thing it didn't explode when it hit.
If it had exploded when it hit, somebody else could be telling you this story today.
I had some real good friends of mine. I took off for a 2-week R&R to Sydney, Australia. There was Toro, Crow, and Christopher Columbus that were caught up in an ambush, and they didn't make it. Well, Toro got caught with an RPG round and took both legs and one arm. When I come back from R&R and I found that out, well, then I carried guilt around for a long time. I had nightmares.
When I first started going to the support group for the wives, your first time was a very, very emotional, because you have to tell your story to all the other ladies and the facilitator. And I didn't know why my husband was having nightmares. I didn't know what was going on with him.
My name is Richard Brown, and I was in the United States Navy from 1966 through 1969. And lo and behold, in January of that year, I got orders to the USS Enterprise.
I'd only been in country about 5 days, and all I could think of was, why are they shooting at me? I'm a nice person. If they only knew me, they wouldn't be trying to kill me. Well, I got over that. And when I was flying gunships, I was pretty aggressive.
Ford sent Air Force planes into South Vietnam to rescue 2,500 children from orphanages who had adoptive parents in the United States. And one of those adoptees was a little girl who we adopted. Operation Baby Lift was very successful, got 2,500 orphans out of the country as it was being overrun by the North Vietnamese Army.
And these reserve guys showed up and they found us. And we looked like Iraqis and smelled like Iraqis, and the equipment we had they had never seen before, so they assumed we were Iraqis, and they launched a missile. And it went inside the tent, which was covered in sand, and I was above the sand up on the antenna pole. But everybody inside got burned up with phosphorus. I had a serious head injury. I had fractures from hell. Walter Reed had taken out the wrong disc and the wrong vertebrae, and I ended up paralyzed from the diaphragm down in a chair. And when I left Walter Reed, I got home and someone else was living in my house. My wife had divorced me and taken my kids and deployed somewhere, gone. And I spent 2 years as a homeless guy in a park, paralyzed in a wheelchair, and trying to figure out, what do you do now?
I made my goal of becoming the first female combat air crewman. I was my honor grad in air crew school at 32 years old. You know, I had a relentless, I'm not going to give up, you're not going to beat me kind of thing. I started flying just a few months after the tailhook scandal. So I wasn't terribly welcomed by the guys when I started to fly.
Another really valuable lesson that I got out of the service was the whole mission first, you know. I would come together, and obviously I was the leader, I was the officer, but It was a team effort, whatever we did and whenever we did it, and I always worked hard to build that team. And that has stood me in good stead. I now lead an office of about 20 lawyers, and if you know anything about lawyers, you can pray for me. They're about as hard to manage as cats.
October 27th of 1969, which was my birthday. I went into the Marine Corps in the Air Wing.
We worked on nuclear weapons.
We were the first troops that went inland.
I learned about the bombing of Pearl Harbor as I was walking down the steps of the First Christian Church in Modesto, California.
The first air raid we had, they said, oh, that's just Navy, they just cracked it. I said, the hell, you see the bullets going through the plane.
Old Charlie Kahn, he was sitting there and he was waiting for us. Out of the 6 of us, 3 of us made it back.
He got the mule on an aircraft carrier, and that mule went to Vietnam with us.
I don't know whether Bobby and I were alive or not. We were so damn drunk.
I need to do work that makes me feel like I'm contributing something to my community.
And I spent 2 years as a homeless guy in the park, paralyzed in a wheelchair, and trying to figure out what do you do now.
My team leader took an AK round that ricocheted off the asphalt in front of us. Ended up losing Sergeant Harlow that night.
We came real close to losing the pride of the United States Navy at that time.
6 Hueys shot down. I was the 4th one.
Those guys never talked about their stuff, and they were expected to be the breadwinners and the heads of the household and show that strength.
As we flew out of San Francisco and looking back over the lights, I thought, this is my last time I'll be seeing anybody.